portion of this evening. My name is Marcy Clapper and I'm the district clerk. We have 40 minutes designated for this segment. The candidates participating tonight are in order on the ballot: Mr. David Gibbardo, Mrs. Marsha Hinman, Mr. Jonathan Schallmo, and Ms. Lori Stone. Candidates, thank you for providing your bios, which include your reasons for running. These are available on our website and in our cornerstone, which everyone should be receiving soon. The format for this evening is that each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, 3 minutes to answer each question, and 2 minutes for closing remarks. We do have a few extra questions if time allows. Our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Rick Wood, has agreed to be our timekeeper in an effort to provide equal time to all our candidates. Candidates, if you see the red card go up, it means you have about 10 seconds to finish up your thought. Earlier in the day, Ms. Cipher and I pulled names out of a hat, and this is the order that we came up with, so Mr. Schallmo will be answering first. Okay, so for introductions, let's begin. I'd like to start with Mr. Jonathan Schallmo.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I think we have a great slot of candidates, and I think the Spencerport community is extraordinary. And for that reason, my wife and I chose to raise our 4 children here. I have a background in undergraduate degree in music education, and before earning my master's degree in leadership and music, I spent some time in finance, and currently I'm a pastor and minister of music. And my experiences in education help to inform my interactions with people and my decisions that I make today. One thing that I've heard as a resident of Spencerport is that our moms, dads, grandmas, and grandpas really want nothing more than our kids to be safe and to thrive, be healthy, smart, and resilient. And I believe that the goal of the school board, and the reason that I'm here, is to do just that. The problem is our schools are often understaffed and lack resources, but I think our school board and our school administration does a great job with that. And I would love to be a part of that, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Mr. Schallmo. Ms. Lori Stone.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lori Stone. I grew up in Spencerport and I'm a graduate of Spencerport schools. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and early childhood education. It was my Spencerport teachers, though, who encouraged me along my ultimate career path, which was to attend law school and become an attorney. I was a practicing attorney for about 15 years. Right before the pandemic, I stepped back from that profession for a bit and ended up taking a longer break than I meant to, just in order to stay home with my kids during that time. I returned to a law firm, but I'm no longer working in a practicing position. I am actually helping to train and develop newer attorneys, which is something that has been really fun and allows me to spend more time raising my own family. I do have 3 children in the district. I have a student in elementary, middle, and high school, so it's a super busy time of the year for me. As a grad myself, I know the value of a Spencerport education, and I also see the value in constantly evaluating what we offer in our district and making sure that we're always working to move from good to great. And that is part of my motivation for wanting to serve on the school board.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Mr. David Gibbardo.
Thank you, Ms. Clapper. So Dave Gibbardo, and I just want to thank the community for coming out. And I also feel privileged to sit with these other 3 candidates. This is my 9th year and 4th term running for school board. And like Mr. Schallmo and Ms. Stone said, Spencer is a great community. I look forward to continue to become a better board member through collective wisdom of the school board. Like Ms. Stone, I'm also a graduate, alumni, and resident of Spencerport, and I do support the new families here in Spencerport with small children, along with our senior population, the multi-generational families who've been here for many years.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbardo. Ms. Marsha Hinman.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here representing you. And I've been in Spencerport for a very long time. I raised 5 children here, and all my children, some of them left and then came back, probably because they love their Spencerport education. And I now have 16 grandchildren here in the area. This year, I will have in September 5 grandchildren in the high school, 3 in the middle school, and 5 in 2 different elementary schools. So I became very interested in the idea of running for the school board, not just for them, but to advocate for all the students in Spencerport, to help them to see the kind of education that I think my kids grew up with, and the kind of education that would help them to become the best students they could possibly become, and the best people that they could grow into. I've been a teacher in Spencerport for a very long time. I started in 1970. And when I came Spencerport to Spencerport, Cosgrove was Wilson, and Wilson was Cosgrove. And when I left, the fountain even worked in the high school. So I've been enjoying retirement, but I've also been very interested in education and the education of the students that I've been friends with and seen in even the community where their children are now growing up. And I've been given so much by Spencerport community, and I felt like it was time for me to give back.
Thank you, Mrs. Hinman. Okay, question number 1. How will you work to collaborate with current board members and district leadership? Ms. Stone?
Well, having served one term on the board already, I have really enjoyed my time working collaboratively with the current board members. I think that it's a wonderful opportunity to come to a table and have different voices speaking on behalf of sort of different, bringing different talents and wisdom to the table and being able to work together to come to a collective decision for our district. I do find value in collaborating. I've been surprised how many times I've come to a meeting thinking that I know how I'm going to decide on something, and then hearing other people in the room share their thoughts and ideas and their wisdom, and changing my own thinking to come around to a collaborative decision that we've made as a group. I do find value in having open-mindedness and being willing to learn from others. And that's something that I would continue to do as a board member.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gibbardo, how will you work to collaborate with current board members and district leadership?
So the process of being on a school board, I think back on year 1 and just my thought process for making decisions and how I have to change to year 9. And one thing that she kind of Ms. Stone kind of alluded to was that collective wisdom piece. There's been many times sitting in a board meeting in public and exec session when I go in and I want a certain thing in my head. And you sit there and listen to the other 7 board members in cabinet, and that collective wisdom kind of changes your mind. I'm going in wanting red folders. By the time I leave, I'm on blue folders. It's just amazing. And for me, it's not about being right. Excuse me. It's about doing the right thing. And you really humble yourself sitting in the meetings with some, I'll be honest with people a lot smarter than me, sitting here and discussing topics, right? That everyone has some perspective different than yours. And it's just that the collaboration of really being able to sit and be quiet and listen and take what people are saying and adjust your thoughts. That's a huge thing that personally, as I reflect back, I've grown in 9 years. And the second part was what the community was saying, Ms. Clapper?
Board members and district
Cabinet,
leadership.
right. So, I mean, I would certainly push in the cabinet, they have their perspective on things. They, spend all day and get information from their sources, and we have discussions about things, and a lot of times it's just making the best decision for the kids, for the budget, for the district, for the community. And, I don't have a tally mark, but there's many times where I think they've done the same thing. They listen to us, we listen to them. And by the end, things kind of change and get molded, or we table things. And I do appreciate the fact that we do have discussions and we listen to people. And I've always said there's merit and banter. And I've enjoyed coming in public or private sessions and discussing topics and just seeing how they just kind of move around the table and they change just on what's being said. So it's just about being patient and being a good listener. That's my response.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Hinman, how will you work to collaborate with current board members and district leadership?
Well, I've never sat on a board before, but I have taught seniors. And I tell you, they have a lot of varied opinions and they come in with a lot of varied backgrounds. And it's been a privilege for me to teach them for so many years and deal with their backgrounds. I can remember one student that came in once and he was having trouble finishing a paper and I was telling him he had to get it in and he said, well, I've been living in my car for 2 weeks. And it's the backgrounds that they have that you have to have compassion and understanding and lean to a little bit to the right or to the left to deal with them. I think compromise is a wonderful thing. I think that we're living in a world that is full of changes and some very incredible things that our students are dealing with. Very great choices that they have to make. I have my grandchildren coming home all the time telling me the different things that are going on in the schools, and some are really positive and some are not so positive. And I think those are things we need to deal with as a school board. Those are things we need to discuss. And hopefully with the brilliance that some of our school board members have, we can come up with some unique ideas to help them learn.
Thank you. Mr. Schallmo, how will you work to collaborate with current board members and district leadership?
I think they were great answers and it's hard to build on them. I can talk about, the differences everyone has and listening to the differences everyone has, because that's the main thing is everyone has a different perspective and comes from a different place. And then also listening to the facts before you make a decision. But also the process I would follow when making large decision is taking stock of where we've been, listening to people's opinions of that time and what has already been, the decisions that have already been made, and then creating buy-in with the team members and the community members before making the decisions and before making procedures as we review the process. And as we listen and as we collaborate, we start coming up with more ideas and we start listening and collaborating and coming up with new ideas and revamping old ideas, because that's what we all come from, different perspectives. And then once a plan was made, I would bring it back to the community or bring it back to the larger group and ask them to kick it back and forth again. And if there's a critique, if there's something someone wants to critique, I would also ask for 2 positives. I think it's important to not only look at the negative, but also look at the positives as we collaborate, we work together. And then once we've gone through those processes, I think we create a community-minded decision, a community-minded process, and then we can start implementing decisions, start implementing procedures. And that's how I would collaborate together.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbardo, how does the school board balance the district's goals to provide a quality education with the need to manage reserves and minimize taxes?
One more time, please.
How does the school board balance the district's goals to provide a quality education with the need to manage reserves and minimize taxes?
So I think step one that we all have a mutual agreement is our mission to educate our kids, right? And when we make our budget decisions, it's always scrutinizing every dollar and every category that we have for our budget and trying to keep the cuts the farthest away from kids as possible. We have a 3-part budget and we have categories for all of those. I think the balancing is making sure that we have a well-balanced budget so our kids are getting their education, but also making sure that they have a balance in teaching or supporting the whole child. We know there's a lot of programs in our district right now for robotics, to sports, to music, to drama. And we want to make sure that we continue those, be able to fund those programs. So those are, I think, real important as we discussed in our presentation for a return on investment. You think about many nights on this campus. And as much as you drive by during the school day and the campus is nice and quiet with the brick buildings, But at night, there are so many things going on in this district. There's many nights where it's just buzzing with sports and activities. And I think that's one thing that me personally, I feel proud to try to work so we can have these programs for the families. You know, parents say all the time, I'm just a taxi driver. And I think that's a good thing. You know, your kids are busy doing things. So it's balancing the budget to make sure that our mission is to educate our kids, number one, and making sure we have a balance of everything else. They want to be an athlete or a singer or a musician or robotics or whatever that is. We have those opportunities for those kids. I think that's what's making Spencer such a robust district is the balance of education, academics, and also the clubs and activities.
Thank you. Ms. Hinman, how does the school board balance the district's goals to provide a quality education with the need to manage reserves and minimize taxes?
There's so much to think about when we look at how our expenditure goes. And I know that everyone is facing a lot of, excuse me, a lot of increase. I tried to fill up my car the other day and I couldn't fill it up past $50 and I have a little car. And I know that the budget is something that's very, very important to people. Also that this is one of the few areas where people feel like they have a choice, that they can actually go and vote at the school board and reduce their taxes, to reduce their taxes. So I think it's something that we need to take a very careful look at, that we need to consider where we may be overspending or where we may be underspending. I agree so much with that. Our sports and our robotics and our prom clubs are all our extracurriculars are so important to the students because it gives them an ability to find out who they are and to find their own identities and to make good, positive friendships and goals. And so I think those financial expenditures are really worth it. How to minimize taxes? I'm not familiar with that. I teach English, not math. I'm not a good budget person, but I budget my own finances. And I know that I was a teacher for a long time, and I think that teachers deserve their salaries. I think teaching is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, next to a bus driver when it's snowing. But other than that, they add so much to our students' lives. And I think that would not be someplace we would minimize. I'm pretty sure that we need to have reserves. I'm pretty sure that I don't know much about it, and so I would confess that. Hopefully, when I'm on the board, I would learn more about the reserves that we have. I think we need to invest wisely. I think we need to take a really close look at how to make our budget something that we were told in the very beginning of the presentation tonight, that is as close to something that our people can afford as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Schallmo, how does the school board balance the district's goals to provide a quality education with the need to manage reserves and minimize taxes?
Well, quality education is our goal. Our goal is to see our kids thrive, to be healthy, smart, safe, and for them to connect with one another and have a good future. If that is our goal, and our goal is to always focus on the children, to always focus on giving the teachers the necessary resources they need, then I think we will always make sure that we don't, when we fall on hard times, we have a reserve. Because as a family, when you look at family budgeting or individual budgeting, you want to be able to have that rainy day fund for when someone loses a job. To put it plainly, they have 3 months of income or something of that sort. I think the school district definitely needs that. As Ms. Hinman said, you need to be able to pay your teachers, you need to be able to pay your educators. But also the taxes hit the pocketbook really, really hard. And looking at it, a $50 a month tax levy, that's significant for people that are going paycheck to paycheck. It's, while we all support the schools, while we all support our students, while we all support all of the things that the tax levy and the school budget proposes, we don't want anything less than the best for our kids. It's important to also balance what's best for the community. And I believe that it's, as we look together and we work together with community and we work together with educators, that we will also find what's best for our students if we always keep the students the main thing.
Thank you. Ms. Stone, how does the school board balance the district's goals to provide a quality education with the need to manage reserves and minimize taxes?
Well, first of all, I agree with what everybody has said in terms of having a quality educational experience is our top priority, and also being able to offer those types of extracurriculars that our kids are really passionate about, whether it's athletics or drama, robotics. All of those types of things are very important to having a quality educational program here at our school. That being said, we can't hide from the fact that we're entering some very difficult financial times. Inflation is high. Families are feeling a real pinch when it comes to paying for cost of living items, when it comes to things like tax increases. One of the presentations that we sat through as a Board of Education was from a financial advisor, and advice that he gave to us was, we can't always keep saying yes to programs without carefully thinking about what we might also have to say no to. I think that's a real concept that we are going to have to start following a little more closely, and that's when it's going to become imperative for the board to come together and be able to work collaboratively and decide where our priorities truly are and how we can continue to offer the quality programming that we do offer, while also being careful of what we are spending so that our community is not always being asked to pay more and more and more in taxes. So I do think we're at a point where we're going to have to make some difficult decisions, but for me, my decision-making would always be focused on the students and wanting to do my very best to make sure that we can continue to offer the quality programs for our students, always checking to see if there are cuts that we can make elsewhere, savings to be found that don't involve the classroom experience and don't directly impact our students.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Hinman, what do you hope your contribution or focus will be as a board member?
Well, I love Spencerport, and I've loved it for a very long time. My husband and I came here when he was accepted to college in Rockport. We came from a really small town, and we were hoping that we could find a small town. And when we discovered Spencerport, we were really thrilled. This community has given a lot to me personally, to my family. When my husband died, they even had his funeral in the auditorium of the Cosgrove School, and never charged us a cent for it. I mean, they have been so they've been so wonderful, and I love watching people grow in this community. I love seeing how the students that I used to teach have come back to raise their students here, their children here. And I'm hoping to be able to give back by serving on the board and representing our community and representing our students and being more involved than I have been in the last few years since I retired, but also because I care so much to see them succeed and to see our world become a better place. When I was walking through the halls at the high school, there was a banner on the wall that said, "If you can choose to be anything in this world, choose to be kind." And I thought, what a wonderful motto for our children to see. What a wonderful idea to promote. And I'm just anxious to be a part. I hope I can represent our community. I hope I can return the love for Spencerport that Spencerport has given to me.
Thank you. Mr. Schallmo, What do you hope your contribution or focus will be as a board member?
Well, I would aspire to be, number one, a person of integrity. The same out in public and the same in private and conversations with community members. I would aspire to be an active listener, an honest person. But also in a time when we're seeing 67% of schools reporting an increase in mental health services, and then also seeing 1 in 4 students possibly considering suicide. I think our school, I would offer the school and the school board someone that's been counseling, been working and connecting with people one-on-one as my career because of my degree in education, because of my degree in working in ministry. But also, I think all of us aspire to be leaders in whatever we do, to be honest in whatever we do, to show and offer hope when things seem the bleakest, and to celebrate when celebrating is needed. And that is what I would offer.
Thank you. Ms. Stone, what do you hope your contribution or focus will be as a board member?
Well, as I said in my introduction, I know the value of a Spencerport education. I feel like it served me very well in life, and public education is extremely important to me. I think it's very important that all of the students in our community have access to an education that's going to prepare them for a successful future. As a board member, I would be an advocate for all of the students in our community to ensure that they receive the very best education that they can here in Spencerport, an education that will allow them to move on and become successful adults in life. I think my contributions would be the fact that I am a dedicated board member currently and hope to continue as one. I am present at meetings. I am invested in reviewing materials that we receive, asking critical questions both during the meeting and before the meeting as I prepare. I think I would be a strong voice for our community on this board.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbardo, what do you hope your contribution or focus will be as a board member?
So I wrote down a few things in no particular order, but they all kind of fall under the same umbrella of being fair, honest, and objective in these following things. That's one thing that I think develops over time. But the first one on my list I wrote down was this as a contribution to make sure that I continue to support our teachers and our staff. I think from classroom teacher, lunchroom bus drivers, facilities, secretaries, pairs, everything in between. We do that in a lot of ways, publicly and in exec session. I think from contract to sick days, we continue to do that. Next is to be an advocate for our community. I consider myself approachable and accessible in the community. I always appreciate when people come and speak to the school board. I wish more people would come and speak and come meet us and speak their mind. Many times in the community, I'm at Tops or it's important to get my son something to eat. And people say, hey, Dave, and I got a question and so on and so forth. And I will bring up one thing. Well, about 4 years ago, we had a big topic. I won't bring it up in a district. And I met people everywhere. They said, I want to meet and talk about this certain situation. And I did. And many people call me, text me, email me. And I always email them back. I call them back. I talk with them. And the last thing I say is, what would you like me to do? That's what it comes down to. And they have to know if you're a person in the community, any board member that's on right now, you can do that too. And I just strengthen that you can definitely do with me. And the third thing is to make sure we prepare our kids to be future ready. That's why we're here. You know, that's why we have a $92 million budget. You know, the kid is, I have on my app, the decision app for the kids that are deciding to go, they put the little picture there. It's amazing to see kids are going to different colleges, they've committed different things. And we do want them to be future ready, whether they are going college, career, military, or business. And lastly is contribution is just that historical perspective of being on for 9 years, being able to gather some mistakes we made, learn from our mistakes, reflect on certain things, and always think about improving when we make decisions or debating on the short term or the medium term or long term effects of decisions we're making. And a lot of times we do that. See, if we do X, then we get Y. If we do B, we get A, and we always back things back and forth. And I think one big thing is the ability to say, we did that already. Let's try something new.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, closing remarks. We'll
She's gotta
begin-
go.
I'm sorry,
She's not gonna go?
I did.
Marcia started.
Like I said, keep going, Marcy. Good.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, closing remarks, Mr. Schallmo.
It's a privilege. We have a wonderful community. It's a privilege to be an American and have the freedoms to run for school board, to vote for school board, to vote for a budget, and have the ability to communicate with the administration and the teachers. Our students have, and our children have the great privilege of learning in one of the greatest districts. And of all the districts in the state, we're in the top 50%. And not many can say that, obviously. It would be a great honor of mine to serve our Spencerport community, our children, the families, and to be a listening ear and to grow with the district and to grow with our students. My 4 children, I love my children, and I know that every family member, every community member, they want nothing more than to see their children thrive and be successful today and in the future. And I'd love to be a part of that.
Thank you. Ms. Stone, your closing remarks.
Thank you. It's been a privilege to serve this community for the past 3 years as a member of the Board of Education. It has been a steep learning curve. There are a lot of issues that I became aware of as board member that I never really even knew I had to think about as a member of a Board of Education. There are a number of acronyms in the education world that I had to become familiar with. And then they go ahead and change the acronym so that I'm using the wrong acronym. But I have had to learn a lot about the world of education through my board service. I would love to continue to grow and apply that knowledge for a second 3-year term. I hope that the community will allow me to do that. I have been very hardworking and dedicated during my first 3-year term, and I would, again, just really enjoy the opportunity to continue to serve this community by being elected to serve a second term.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbardo, your closing remarks.
I agree with both Jonathan and Lori, and I still feel that there's more I want to do for the Spencerport community, for the district, and for the board and the cabinet. I would appreciate another opportunity for 3 more years, right? So I can do like the 3 things I said, which was continue to support our teachers, advocate for the community, and continue programs that make our students future ready.
Thank you. Ms. Hinman, your closing remarks.
As I said before, I really, my heart is in Spencerport, and I really love the people here. And I feel like I'm a lifelong learner, but I've learned more from my students than I ever taught them. I'm still learning, and I would love to be a part of the board and learn more about what happens inside. I've been a teacher and kind of under the board. I would like to see what happens when I'm on the other side of the board and see what I can do to help understand that mechanism, to understand what it's like to be a part of a whole that's really remarkable. And as we said, Spencerport's a terrific school, and it's got a wonderful reputation, has a wonderful reputation. I'm anxious to sit with a board representing you as a community. I'm anxious to listen. I'm anxious to get involved, and I feel like it's time for me to give back.
Thank you. This concludes our Meet the Candidates portion of the evening. A reminder that if you had a question that had not been answered or is specifically to one candidate, their contact information is on our website. I will now turn things over back to Kristen Swan with a few final thoughts.
First, I want to thank the Board of Education member candidates. Thank you for sharing who you are, what's important to you, and the impact that you hope to make in the school district. It was very helpful tonight, so thank you again. To our community, thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to hear about the budget and our candidates and be invested in our community. That'll conclude this portion of tonight's events. Again, we're going to just take a small break and transition to our regular Board of Education meeting, and you're certainly welcome to continue to attend our board meeting. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.